Carrie Morgan was Cassie Ventura's former best friend, Carrie Morgan. She described witnessing Combs assaulting Cassie twice.
Cassie for 17 years, but things went sour after she alleged that Diddy beat her with a wooden coat hanger and she signed an NDA.
When Carrie Morgan, Cassie's closest friend, took the stand, Diddy completely lost control in court.
Ventura's former best friend, Carrie Morgan. She described witnessing Combs assaulting Cassie twice, the first time in a home Combs was renting in the Hollywood Hills. Morgan testified that, quote, "I saw him push her. I'm pretty sure he hit her." The second time allegedly happened in Jamaica. Morgan says they were in the bar area of a home when, quote, "I heard her screaming." She recalled guttural, terrifying screams. Combs faces the possibility of life in prison if convicted. He's pleaded not guilty and has denied all wrongdoing.
Carrie Morgan walked in, and that's when everything in the courtroom began to shift. The room had been filled with quiet whispers and the soft sound of papers being moved around as everyone got ready for what they thought would be just another day. It didn't feel tense yet, but there was definitely a weight in the air. Diddy sat back in his chair, looking calm, his legal team beside him flipping through their notes with quiet confidence, like they had everything under control. Behind the courtroom barriers, the media murmured to each other, cameras aimed, and waiting to catch even the smallest reaction. Carrie's entrance caught everyone off guard. Most hadn't expected her to show up. Her name had been mentioned before, but hardly anyone thought she'd be this important to the case. As Cassie's best friend, she looked steady and focused while walking to the stand. The prosecution welcomed her with clear preparation, while Diddy's lawyers shared a look that hinted at concern. Diddy watched her closely, his body slowly tightening as she moved. The calm he showed at the start was beginning to fade. The moment Carrie raised her hand to be sworn in, the entire energy in the courtroom changed, and whatever control Diddy had seemed to slip away. Carrie said something that struck a nerve, and that's when Diddy finally snapped. It wasn't clear to everyone at first that he was coming undone. Diddy's always been known for staying calm under pressure, but people who were really watching noticed the small changes. His jaw clenched, he leaned forward, hands tight together, eyes narrowing as Carrie started to speak. The tension built fast. Witnesses later called the moment electric, with everyone in the courtroom focused not just on what Carrie said, but on how Diddy was reacting. And then came the turning point. Carrie shared personal, explosive details that set the room on fire. In a flash, Diddy slammed his hand on the table, his voice cutting through the silence as he interrupted her. The room froze. Reporters later described him as looking truly furious, with one journalist said, "It was as if he couldn't hold back another second." Security guards stood alert, clearly ready to step in if things got worse, while the judge kept calling for order. But Diddy's outburst wasn't just a quick reaction. It was a full breakdown. He pointed at Carrie, shaking his head and speaking loudly to his lawyers, completely losing the calm image he'd tried so hard to keep. Witnesses later told reporters how fast the mood changed. You could hear a pin drop one moment, and the next, it felt like the whole room was holding its breath. People were genuinely shocked. One observer even said it out loud. A court insider added that even Diddy's own lawyers seemed surprised, quickly trying to calm him down. Outside the courtroom, cameras captured a rush of movement. During the break that followed, as reporters scrambled to figure out exactly what had happened. But inside, one question hung in the air. What did Carrie Morgan say that broke Diddy's cool so completely? Whatever it was, it clearly held enough weight to shake one of the music industry's most famously composed figures. To really understand why Diddy reacted this way, we have to look at who Carrie Morgan is, and why her words hold such power in this case. Carrie Morgan was on the stand.
Carrie Morgan was on the stand. That was Cassie Ventura's former best friend. What did Carrie say happened after that incident?
Cassie Ventura left the Intercontinental Hotel, went back to her apartment, her home, and there was Carrie Morgan waiting. She said immediately she saw the black eye that Ventura had testified Combs gave her after the freak-off got violent, and the whole reason why then the subsequent assault in the hallway happened. And then Carrie Morgan said about a half hour later, Sean Combs starts banging on the door with a hammer. It was not let in, but she said she heard him yelling, finally called some of Combs' staff members to try to get him to leave. Police were called, but Cassie Ventura said, and Carrie Morgan backed this up, that nothing ever came of it because Cassie Ventura refused to say anything about Sean Combs and what happened to her.
Aaron, I have to ask you, because Combs was sitting just feet away from Don Richard and Carrie Morgan in court today, how did he react to seeing them and hearing all of this?
He's been an attentive listener. In some cases, he would shake his head or nod along or consult with his lawyers, scribbling a lot of notes. This was an important part of the testimony because it made a turn, Eva. The jury had heard from Cassie Ventura directly about, in rather explicit terms, a lot of the sex acts. But the prosecution's whole case is that she was coerced into that sex because of the violence, the kind of violence that both Don Richard and Carrie Morgan said they witnessed. Now, the defense says there are other reasons for the violence. Jealousy, drugs, didn't have anything to do with coercing her into sex. But the prosecutors want the jury to hear these accounts to say that Cassie Ventura was not only telling the truth about being beat up, but that she had reason to then go along with Sean Combs' sexual demands.
Morgan may not be a household name, but in this trial, she's become one of the most important voices. As Cassie's best friend, Carrie isn't just standing by her. She's a key witness whose words could change everything. You have to wonder, what does she know that others don't? What makes her testimony powerful enough to shake Diddy to his core? These aren't just questions people are asking for drama. They're at the heart of why this trial has taken such a serious turn. Let's go back for a moment. Carrie Morgan and Cassie have a long history, long before any courtroom spotlight. People close to them say their friendship is built on real trust and years of shared experiences. Friends who know them both describe Carrie as deeply loyal to Cassie, someone who's stuck by her no matter what. And why does that matter? Because if anyone's been around long enough to witness what really happened behind the scenes, closed doors, it's Carrie who's been there. Her closeness to Cassie over the years makes her testimony more than just words. It's a first-hand account of what Cassie lived through. Carrie's credibility isn't only rooted in their long friendship. She's also known as someone thoughtful, steady, and not the type to speak unless she's certain about what she's saying. A source close to the case even called her someone who doesn't do drama, which makes her choice to testify even more powerful. She didn't get dragged into this. She chose to come forward, fully aware of how serious her role is in uncovering the truth. So here's the real question. What exactly does Carrie know? According to reports, her testimony isn't based on guesses or second-hand stories. She says she directly saw or was told about key moments of abuse during Cassie's stormy relationship with Diddy. One media outlet called her the missing piece of the puzzle, stressing just how powerful her words might be in this case. Though full details weren't released before she testified, one thing is clear: she's not holding back. She reportedly gave deep insight into patterns of control, manipulation, and harm that, if confirmed, could strongly tip the case in Cassie's favor. And what makes Carrie stand out even more is her courage to speak out against someone as powerful and well-connected as Diddy is. Carrie still chose to speak out. And that's no small thing. Taking a stand against a global icon in a public courtroom isn't easy. Nearly everyone following the case has pointed out just how brave her decision was, especially knowing the kind of legal power Diddy brings. Carrie clearly isn't chasing fame. Her words show she's focused on getting justice for her friend, no matter the personal cost. And that's why her testimony can't be ignored. So here's where things stand. Carrie Morgan has pointed to details no one else could offer. Details that suggest something far more troubling may have happened. But one question still hangs in the air. What exactly did she say on the stand that rocked the entire courtroom? That's the moment no one expected. And believe me, the claims are explosive. Let's break down what came out and why it hit Diddy and everyone else so hard.
You already mentioned the second witness today, Cassie Ventura's former best friend, Carrie Morgan. What did Carrie have to say?
So let me tell you, Carrie Morgan is crucial. And she came crucial because she comes off as credible. Because one of the first statements that she made is that she came here because she was compelled to testify. She no longer speaks to Cassie Ventura. They stopped talking in 2018 after this incident having to deal with where she was assaulted by Sean Combs, where Sean Combs grabbed her by the neck and also threw a wooden hanger at her. But also that it led to Cassie giving her $30,000 so she wouldn't say anything about that specific incident. And that was the end of their relationship. She also corroborated 2 of the assaults that took place, having to deal with Cassie in terms of her being drugged and as well as her being punched. So she corroborated a lot of the testimony, but she came off as a neutral witness. And the defense wasn't able to break her as they wanted to, but was able to say that, look, it was still a loving relationship.
It wasn't just another step in the trial. It was the moment everything flipped. From the second Carrie took the stand, the entire room shifted. This wasn't ordinary testimony. It was the one everyone had been waiting for, and the one Diddy feared the most. The energy outside the courtroom made it clear. Something big was coming. And once she started speaking, it became obvious why. What Carrie revealed wasn't just surprising. It was devastating. The allegations unfolded slowly, but each word landed heavier than the last. She opened up about years of behavior she said she witnessed firsthand. Carrie painted a picture of a relationship that wasn't just unhealthy. It was dangerous. She detailed moments of control, manipulation, and abuse Cassie allegedly suffered at Diddy's hands. But what truly stunned the courtroom was the string of chilling incidents she described. According to Carrie, the threat of violence wasn't hypothetical. It was real. She said she saw bruises on Cassie more than once and recalled specific moments when Diddy's anger exploded with frightening consequences. But the claims didn't stop at physical abuse. Carrie described psychological manipulation too, saying, Diddy used his power to trap Cassie, isolating her from friends and family, and even monitoring her calls and texts to maintain control. This wasn't just a messy breakup or a volatile relationship. It was something much darker. And if that wasn't enough, Carrie shared one particular night that left the courtroom breathless. Though she didn't reveal every detail, what she did share was powerful. Cassie called her terrified, saying Diddy's anger had reached a dangerous peak. Carrie said she had to physically intervene to stop the situation from spiraling, a move that could have triggered a far worse outcome. The courtroom reaction was immediate. Gasps filled the air, forcing the judge to call for silence. Diddy's and lawyers exchanged tense looks as Carrie's words grew even more intense. Then, it was Diddy who finally lost control. When Carrie directly implicated him in an act of violence, saying he couldn't be stopped, he muttered under his breath and slammed his hand on the table with a thunderous bang. Witnesses described it as a slow-burning rage exploding all at once. The judge paused the trial for several minutes to regain order after Diddy's outburst. As powerful as Carrie's testimony was, one question dominated everyone's mind. How would Diddy's legal team respond? Would they confront her claims head-on, or try to dismantle her credibility? What happened next only deepened the drama in this already intense trial. And I
will say, I think she seemed to say things very matter of fact. There were definitely moments where there was a little bit of what I would call sass, which I didn't think was a bad thing. I think she represented herself very well, and I felt as I read what was being said, she seems like a very credible witness. I think this is going to be one that may stick out in the jury's mind because she was subpoenaed to be here. She is speaking in defense of Cassie, but at the same time, she was also very hurt by Cassie.
Yeah.
And the way that it all came out was very honest. So it's definitely an interesting one to go through.
Yeah, I mean, she's giving a perspective that it feels more like, I don't give a crap about any of these people, so I'm going to give it to you straight. I've moved on from all this, but let's go do it. And not really throwing Cassie under the bus in any way, but
no,
clearly doing it more honestly. So, so she made it clear she was only there because of the subpoena. And she confirmed that she and Cassie, who met on a modeling shoot as teenagers, no longer speak because Ventura's boyfriend ate her. Now, was this Agnifilo the Costco lawyer did end up doing this or not?
Yes, Mark Agnifilo, or as we lovingly call him, the Costco lawyer.
Because it's just funny because there's this buildup of he's finally going to do something during this trial. It was our first chance to see Costco lawyer step up to the stand, Kim, right? So
we'll get
as
there.
we go through, let's see how he does, yeah?
Yeah. It was fascinating.
Diddy's legal team acted swiftly after Carrie Morgan's explosive testimony. The moment the court was back in session, they launched a full-scale effort to regain control of the narrative. From the outset, it was clear they wouldn't accept her claims without a fight. Their strategy centered on undermining Carrie's credibility and casting serious doubt on her allegations. This wasn't just about countering her story. They aimed to dismantle her entire role in the case. Their approach became obvious during cross-examination, where the defense zeroed in on Carrie's close relationship with Cassie. They suggested this bond might have biased her testimony. One lawyer reportedly asked, "Have you always taken Cassie's side no matter what?" A question designed to portray Carrie as too emotionally involved to be objective. The implication was that her loyalty could have distorted her memory. Those in the courtroom saw this as a calculated attempt to make the jury question whether Carrie's account was rooted in facts or simply blind allegiance. But the defense didn't stop there. They aggressively challenged the timeline of Carrie's claims, probing for inconsistencies with sharp questioning. "Isn't it true you weren't physically present for all these incidents?" one attorney pressed, aiming to highlight gaps and weaken the reliability of her testimony. When Carrie remained composed and unwavering, they shifted tactics, questioning her motives for testifying. Throughout the cross-examination, the defense planted the idea that Carrie might have personal reasons for coming forward. They hinted that her testimony could be driven by a grudge against Diddy, rather than a commitment to the truth. "Would you describe your relationship with Mr. Combs as positive before this?" one lawyer asked, subtly implying she might have her own agenda to damage his reputation. The courtroom drama escalated as the back and forth grew heated, forcing the judge to intervene multiple times to maintain order. When one of Diddy's lawyers became overly aggressive, the judge sternly warned, "This court will not tolerate disrespect toward any witness." Despite these warnings, the defense made it clear they were prepared to fight tooth and nail to discredit Carrie's testimony if it threatened their case. Reactions to the defense's tactics were mixed. Some insiders believed their aggressive questioning left an impression by casting doubt on parts of Carrie's story. Others noted that Carrie's calm and steady demeanor might have actually reinforced her credibility. As one insider put it, "The real test will be whether the jury sees their questions as legitimate or just an attempt to intimidate her." That's the critical question now. Will the defense's efforts be enough to weaken Carrie's testimony, or will her words and the evidence she presented prove too strong to dismiss? The answer may hinge on the next crucial piece of the puzzle, the tangible evidence Carrie brought to court, and whether it can shift the entire trajectory of this trial. Tuan Minai.
You two were best friends for 18 years, but now you haven't spoken with her since 2018. That's true. At the danger of being capital obvious, that's a long time. She's moved on. Objection. Why haven't you spoken with her? She did not support me after Sean assaulted me. I try that line at assault. I don't know what that means. Oh, I think it means I set the line at assault. I don't cross the line of assault or whatever. You reached a settlement with Miss Ventura? The money came from Mr. Combs. So this was after I believe she was assaulted by Diddy, that that in order to hush her up, Diddy gave her some money, or they settled it, however it is. That's a pattern that seems to be happening with him throughout the decades. So Agnifilo shows Carrie Morgan photos, then asks, "Do you know if Louise Hayes is a self-help author about self-affirmation?" "Yes." "Why did you send him this with words of encouragement?" "I don't remember sending it." "Okay." I want to show you a few more photos. But first, let's talk about the incident where he put his hands on your neck. Were you and Cassie using any drugs at the time? No. What did he say? He said, "Who is she cheating with?" You went to an urgent care and not the hospital, right? Like she's saying just right as the answer. But you don't the prosecutors. Oh, but you told the prosecutors it was bloody and you went to the hospital. I don't remember that. Look at this. And so this is material not shown to the jury. I see that I said that. Now in this, I think it's like now in cross-examination. I'm not sure what that means. Okay. I see that I said that. Do you remember Mr. Agnifilo asking you about an incident in LA? Objection, overruled, and he hit her like in Jamaica, arguing. Oh, okay, that's what it is. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me go back. So they were doing right here. Agnifilo is Diddy's attorney. That's why I wasn't understanding. So they did the cross. All right. So now this is the prosecutors again asking her questions. They get to come back up. So that's who's asking. That's just like, why is Agnifilo asking a question about himself?
Morgan didn't just come to court with her story. She brought real evidence. Her testimony wasn't based on unclear memories or guesses. She presented proof that shocked everyone in the courtroom. That's what surprised people the most. Her powerful words were one thing, but the evidence pushed the case into new and serious territory. It showed her role was much bigger than anyone expected. So what kind of evidence did she share? According to those close to the case, Carrie gave a mix of text messages, photos, and even recordings to back up what she said. One set of messages showed direct chats between Cassie and Carrie during the time the incidents with Diddy happened. In these texts, Cassie described abusive moments as they happened, reaching out to Carrie in fear and desperation. Lawyers read parts of these messages aloud in court, and those watching said the details were chilling. One observer even said the judge looked clearly uncomfortable hearing them. The evidence showed just how serious the allegations were, but that wasn't all. Carrie also shared photos Cassie had sent her, which reportedly showed bruises and injuries matching the claims. These images were officially entered into evidence. One journalist called them graphic and heartbreaking. The courtroom fell silent as the prosecution showed the photos, leaving everyone to try and piece together the timeline that led to those moments. Carrie testified that Cassie often sent her these pictures to document the abuse and to ask for help. The photos were linked to messages where Cassie expressed fear of what might happen if she tried to leave the relationship. People in the courtroom later said the photos and texts together showed a clear and disturbing story of what was happening behind closed doors. Then came the recordings, possibly the most powerful evidence Carrie brought. Reports say she gave audio files that caught arguments between Diddy and Cassie. In one clip played in court, Diddy was heard yelling, backing up claims about his bad temper. One recording even included threats, which shocked everyone listening in the courtroom. The defense tried to say the recordings lacked context and didn't prove anything for sure, but the tone alone left a strong impact. People in the courtroom described the reaction as overwhelming. One journalist said the room was frozen with tension as each piece of evidence was shown, revealing the allegations more clearly than ever. Even the jury looked stunned, with some visibly shaken by the recordings. It was clear this wasn't just a simple he said, she said case anymore. Carrie's evidence gave her story weight that was hard to ignore. So where does this leave the case? With Carrie's testimony and proof, the power in this trial has clearly shifted. Her words weren't just accusations. They came with proof that supported every claim. This case is far from over, but one thing is clear. Carrie Morgan's testimony has changed everything. What happens next could be even more shocking. This trial isn't just about Diddy and Cassie. It's about the courage it takes to stand up to powerful people and reveal painful truths. Carrie's testimony has taken this case into new, uncharted territory, and the evidence she brought could change everything. But as intense as this has been, It feels like we've only just begun to see the real story. What comes next might change everything we thought we knew. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for updates as this story unfolds. Stay tuned, there's still so much more to come. Kwan Mini